I went to work in Cherokee. And one of my friends in Cherokee was a wonderful man named Carl Lambert. Did you ever know Carl Lambert?
I believe I did.
He was something else. He told me stories, and we used to go to the Holiday Inn and eat lunch, and he would tell me stories that just stunned me, and we'd end up staying 2 hours sitting there in the Holiday Inn, and him telling me stories. And he told me once that he was at the Cherokee Indian Fair, and of course we always called it the Cherokee Indian Fair back then, and it got to a point where that was considered an unpleasant term. It had to be something else, and they call it something else now. But it was a rough place. You used to go to the Cherokee Indian Fair, and all kinds of dangerous things would go on there, It's a little secret gambling going on here. I saw my first naked woman at the Indian Fair. So only one for a long time, too. I think I was 13, 14, She called herself the Tijuana Wildcat. And, well, that's another story. That's another story. I might tell that story sometime if I hadn't already told it. But anyway, Carl told me that he loved the Indian Fair. And it was something. I absolutely loved the Indian Fair. A time came when I didn't love it because they changed it. And when they changed it, it wasn't fun anymore. But before they changed it, there were bingo joints and hoochie coochie shows, they called them back then. And Carl told me that he was hanging around, he would stay all night, and it was an event. And lots of Cherokees would come out of Big Cove, particularly women, and they would bring a quilt and sleep on the ground for the whole Indian Fair, and eat in the food joints there. I mean, it was an event, a dramatic event to live through. Well, one night Carl was prowling around after everybody had gone, and he found a monkey. And it was in a sack, and it didn't look too good. And he asked the man about it, and he says, that monkey, it has diarrhea. I don't think it's going to live. And Carl says, well, I'll give you $10 for it. And the guy thought about it, and he finally said, okay. And Carl took that monkey home. Well, that's another story. Now, this is my story, and Carl is in it. I love backstories and way stories run off and become other things and multiply and change their. I don't rarely remember the origin of this story. I've told it several times over the years, but it always changes when I start writing it down. It takes over 10 years, but I suddenly find myself making an abrupt turn in a side road. Suddenly I'm lost in little Canada, or maybe Cades Cove, or I'm almost out of gas, and it's scary, but then up ahead there are bright lights, and it looks like another country, and my God, it's the Cherokee Indian Fair. I vaguely remember a German story some 50 years ago about a monkey that unintentionally killed itself with his owner's straight razor, and he's been resurrected for me because wrapped in a burlap sack on a cold night in October, full of bells and whistles, laughter, strange smells, cotton candy, charred meat, and a monkey that has diarrhea and shivers in a foul sack in a dark corner. An old man named Carl is plodding it with a stick. Still alive, said the old man. Yeah, well, so, said the man with a bowler hat on. Well, I'll give you $10. The bowler hat snorted, and he said, okay. But let me be honest with you, sir. I don't think he's going to live another day. Yeah, I'm just saying. The old man lifted the monkey from the sack, and he stares at the little wizened face. I'm going to call him Abner. You want a clean sack? No, I'll just drop him in here. And that monkey settles inside the old man's bill overalls. Smells of tobacco and beef jerky. Well, suit yourself, said the bowler hat. And he snatches the bill from the old man's fingers with practiced ease. And so Abner came to live with an old man in an old farmhouse in Big Cove on the Cherokee Indian Reservation. Carl fed him cornbread and buttermilk and souse meat, and that monkey thrived. I keep losing my place. It would help, I guess, if I put my glasses on. So he lived with an old man in a farmhouse in Big Cove on the Cherokee Indian Reservation. Carl fed him cornbread, buttermilk, and souse meat, and the monkey thrived. And before long, he was swinging in the rafters, peering through the windows at that strange world, a world of chickens and hounds, a cow, mules. And although Abner came when he was called, he was a free agent. That meant that he did what he wanted to do. And when he ventured outside and explored the barn, he frightened the chickens. Abner got a perverse pleasure out of reducing that chicken house to pandemonium when he swung through the rafters and leaving a storm of feathers and dust behind him. In time, he learned to ride that hound dog. And he spent exciting nights riding that poor dog through the moonlight. Deep into the forest. He left in his wake a kind of tidal wave of cackles and screams and hoots and trills as the creatures of the wood took note of the passage. And Abner still came when he called him, but his absence from Carl's kitchen became longer. A few days and then an entire week, Carl's neighbors kept him informed about the disturbances. Tales of Abner pursuing foxes on the back of a blue tick hound. They said he made the dogs run faster by biting their ears. Oh. His legs wrapped around them like a Saturday cowboy. People complained when Abner took to plucking chickens and leaving great clouds of feathers wafting through the woods. Dog owners threatened to shoot him. A kind of a legend developed about Abner, the mad monkey of the Smokies. Carl was a popular storyteller, and on winter nights he would entertain the neighbors with stories of Abner's adventures. And on one of his trips into town, Abner had raided a craft shop, came away with a rebel cap, and that became a permanent item. And many teachers came out of the Smokies telling incoherent stories about a monkey with a rebel cap on who attacked the campgrounds at night and then vanished into the darkness with gaudy clothes and candy and food. But when the heavy snows came and the campgrounds closed, Abner came home. Carl said that it was a kind of a hibernation. He guessed, deprived of excitement, Abner became morose and depressed, and he spent hours staring out the window at the snow. Then there came a year when he didn't return. For several years, there were still stories of a monkey riding the wind-buffed hemlocks and staring down at startled travelers. Now, let's change gears. Lost my place again. Let's change gears, and let me say that I've always identified with Abner. The wild monkey of the Smokies. Hell, I am Abner. From the time he was plucked from that dark cage until he vanished into the dark wood, I felt an empathy with that solitary creature. He lived in a world without any companionship. There wasn't any other monkeys out there. And although he made efforts to befriend and live with other creatures, dogs, humans, chickens, he was, I am, a solitary being. Yeah, I've tried to, but I have so little in common with others, it's a hopeless pursuit. I guess it's a brooding and melancholy that puts people off. A few friends that I have vanished. They've gone off to pursue more pleasant relationships. I mean, who could you expect? And they have nothing to offer, which I have nothing to offer but brooding. Yes, I'm only fit company for Abner. And I think I would enjoy that, Abner and I, high in a hemlock, both of us with rebel caps on, riding the wind. Some have abandoned me and so they can devote more time to acquiring fame of some sort. A few have gone in search of God, a search that takes all kinds of time and energy. Adieu, travelers, pilgrims. Abner and I bid you farewell. You all go on ahead now, we'll catch up. I've been thinking that I would maybe teach Abner to read. It would be quite a challenge, but then we've got nothing but time. Certainly there was wonderful possibilities. What would Abner think of Cormac McCarthy? I think he would love A.E. Houseman. How about the Rubaiyat? Hey, then there's Yeats, the poet that is after a wild monkey's heart. For like Abner, I was born into a world where both reading and friendship are becoming a kind of lost arts. And perhaps Abner and I could start a secret sect that read stuff. Rediscover poetry. Write a play. I heard once that Abner loved Elvis. Well, maybe I could lure him out. Maybe if I go up in Deep Creek tonight and I sing Fools Rush In, I just might tease him out. I do a pretty good Elvis when there's no one around to judge. Maybe if I sing long enough, he will hear. Only rivers flow to the sea, to the open arms of the sea. Come out, Abner. Come to Rhodes Cove and sit with me in the fog and listen to the rain crows on Painter's Knob. I think their sad coo will soothe your mad heart. We still got a little while before the street lights and the pavements runs us off into some other dark holler, to Black Rock or Linville Gorge. I'll be coming home. Wait for me.